What is going on, everybody? Raj is a popular man tonight, man. This is like his second of probably to be third stream tonight. So we're gonna get this thing going right quick. So I'm just gonna hit you with this. You don't know what I'm about to ask you or show you.
I just hopped on.
Okay, so I saw something today that was shocking yet not surprising, but still took me back with surprise when I saw it. So there was a clip of Michael Lombardi talking about that the Niners possibly that Trey Lance may not make. He put out a scenario where Trey Lance might not make the 53 man roster.
I saw
So
that.
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the video and then I want to get your response.
Yeah.
We'll get right into this. Let's stop. We'll stop. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
As you go down this road with Lance, it just becomes harder and harder and harder. And you could show all the clips of him moving and all that stuff. At the end of the day, when his mama lifted him from the crib, he just didn't have that quarterback instinct. He is not going to be the backup quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but there's no chance. There is no chance based on the evidence that I've seen and based on what I've heard.
Michael, I asked you this before we ended the Lombardi line yesterday on VSiN. I think that he might be competing to stay on the 53-man roster. Like, is that where we at with Trey Lance right now? Like, are these reps looking for him to be able to say, can he stay on this roster and be a viable 49er?
Well, I think you got to look at this, right? Like, you know that once you reach a conclusion on a player, okay, once you really have a handle on who the player is, then you've got to make some decisions.
I was shocked, but partly not surprised because I'm starting to get the feeling that it wasn't even a competition per se. It was like Brock had the job since before his surgery and nothing's changed. If you listen to Kyle Shanahan, he's saying that the Brock would have to melt in order for Brock to lose that job. What's your take on all this, man?
Yeah. So I just got off my live, talked about all this, and first and foremost, Michael Lombardi's just an ass clown. Like, sorry for the language, but that's a personal shot. Like, to say that when his mama lifted him out of the crib, he couldn't play. Like, that's a shot at him. Like, you don't know if you're born to play quarterback or not. Like, that's a shot, man. But the way he said it is so just dirty. And I don't like Michael Lombardi. I think he's always been, like, he's always negative. But the thing about Michael Lombardi is he does it for clicks, for views. It's not like JT O'Sullivan, I respect it. You know, he came out today. He put his film out there, the QB school, and he broke it down. And he showed the film. Like, I respect it. Like, is Trey Lance green behind the ears? Absolutely. Does he still need time to develop? Yeah, we knew these things. He's coming off an injury. He hasn't played a game in a year. And, you know, Dan Orlovsky yesterday talking about how he's not fit to play in the NFL and this and that and the other. And a lot of other people's have. Like, I get it. But if you're going to say all that, you got to drop some film. Like, I respect JT O'Sullivan for that. But Mike Lombardi, that's just a big man. He's always been mad at the Niners because they embarrassed him when they didn't take Mac Jones. He was so sure of it. I didn't take Mac Jones. And Niners Twitter just flamed him. So I think because of that, he's always mad. Kind of like Florio. He personally attacks Niners and their media because he has a vendetta against them. But as far as Brock Purdy, like, this is something we talked about. I was never surprised. Like, today, the last few quotes, I tweeted that earlier, that Kyle Shanahan said he has to melt in practice. Like, that's another great quote by Kyle. But to me, it's like, wow, Kyle is finally being a matter of fact with who's QB1. He said it early in the offseason. He said Brock's the guy. He's the leader of the clubhouse. He hasn't wavered. He's never really had that, you know, that vocal ability of saying, this is my guy. This is my guy. Every year it's a story. It's like, who's going to be QB1? And we're always, and the media always asks him, Grant or whoever asked him, who's quarterback one. I don't know who's going to be alive on Sunday. I can't tell you. Last year, it took him until training camp, July, right before training camp, to answer, oh, yeah, we're rolling with Trey this year. But they were still going through the Jimmy mess. He wouldn't answer that until July. This is Trey's team. We're making the transition. So that tells me a lot that Kyle Shanahan really likes Brock. He likes what he's seen. And then yesterday, you know, in that same article from Albert Breer, he said that it took Kyle 3 games to know that he was the best quarterback. So in Brock's section, in the Brock world, that's great for him mentally. It's great for him. He's got the confidence. It's going to really help him. But in Trey's world, that's not what he needs to hear mentally. And I don't think he's ever really had the mental clarity and the respect from Kyle when he started, because it was tough on him. He came in. The Niners needed a new quarterback. Jimmy was the scapegoat. He was the reason they lost the Super Bowl, everybody said. And they went and got a quarterback. They traded up. and it was a controversial time. I'm sure the locker room was kind of divided. It was probably weird. It was probably awkward. And then boom, he comes in last year. He finally gets his chance. He's hurt. Brock Purdy comes in and he steals the show. And Kyle said he believed he was a starter at the end of this. Like he already knew. And that's the biggest takeaway for me is like, wow, Kyle's committing to a quarterback. He's not been committal over the last few years. So that's big to me. That's like one big takeaway. But as far as Mike Lombardi, man, that's just a trash ass take. Like,
yeah, that why say something like that? You take a take that has a little bit behind it as far as maybe the Niners do feel this way, right? Maybe they've reached this conclusion. But to take a personal shot at somebody just by saying something dirty like that, like it automatically just completely cancels out. Same thing with like Florio and those guys. It's just like, dude, put your personal feelings aside and just report. I've always been on the Matt Maiocco and the Barrow side of saying they were too vanilla, but the more time goes by, the more I'm appreciating just how matter of fact they make everything. And I'm starting to believe everything that they say, which is weird because I usually don't believe reporters for as far as they can throw it. But when you see stuff like that, separating whatever he was saying, it was kind of a dirty shot. So
yeah.
To be honest with you, man, with this whole Trey thing, I sat watching that preseason game and I just thought to myself, I said, you know what, man? I don't think his future is with the 49ers. I think his future is somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's not a personal shot. It's not a, hey, I was right. It's just at this point, they're picking a 7th round, last pick in the draft guy to be their starting quarterback over the 3rd pick in the draft. And Kyle has never been, like you said, so firm in his resolve that to me, it's just a matter of time before they move on with the kid. And it sucks. And I got to stop calling him a kid, but he's a kid to me because
he's a young man. I know I make that mistake. He's a young man.
He's a young man. He's 23 years old. He, if you think about it, he could still have a very good NFL career if he decides to go somewhere where they can use him.
100%. But if I'm Kyle, if I'm Trey, I ask for a trade because he's not going to get. He's not going to get that opportunity with the Niners. It's unfortunate. He had his chance. He got hurt. His development stunted. He needs time. He needs time to develop and grow. The Niners don't have that ability to let this guy go out there and fail a little bit, stumble out the gates and develop. They can't. Like maybe 2 years ago when they drafted him, should have been when they did, take that time to develop. You can't anymore. And I get it, Brock, he's still young, but he has 4 years under his belt at a power college. He came in, he looks more confident, and that's the biggest thing. Trey doesn't have that confidence. His development got stunted. If I'm Trey Lance, I walk into that building and I put my jersey down and say, Kyle, I love you. Thank you for drafting me. But I need to see if I have it in the NFL. I need to get that opportunity. And Kyle needs to let him go. But I feel like Kyle won't, because if anybody else makes him successful, he's going to hold that internally like, God, I should have given him a chance, as Kyle. Because also, 49ers run through quarterbacks like crazy, unfortunately. So if Brock does have a setback, he needs somebody to be there. And then I know Darnold could probably be that guy. I feel like he could. He could be a good backup. And Darnold has no pressure. All the pressure's on Trey. But I feel like if I'm Trey, I go in there because I need mental clarity if I'm Trey. And if I go to another team, let's just say the Buccaneers, I don't know, go to another team and I failed, and I know at least I got the opportunity to go prove myself and I didn't do it. But if I go and succeed, then holy shit, I proved you all wrong. So if I'm Trey, I ask for a trade. If I'm Kyle, you might need to cut your losses because you just went all in on Brock Purdy. You doubled, tripled down. You're like slobbing him off. You're glazing him at this point. So
it's funny that SF Flood says this because my brother said this. He says, I'm the biggest Trey fan. They need to do him a solid and trade him to Miami. Dude, he might progress and have success in that because literally he's got all these guys that he can throw deep to. The thing with Trey is that they drafted a guy. This is the thing that makes me lose my mind. You have a win now team. You have a bunch of win now guys. You got your Kittles, your Juszczyks, all these guys that have the ear of the coach. You draft a guy that's a project that you knew was going to take time, but you don't have time because you're trying to win now. So what was the point of drafting him?
They were pressured. And again, my take is, and I've said this before, Kyle wanted Mac Jones. He said he's wanted Mac or Trey. It was between those guys. It was never Justin Fields. It was those Mac and Trey. And I think Mac would have been his pick because he was pro-ready. Brock Purdy, I think, was more pro-ready coming into the league, although we didn't know about him. He was pro-ready, playing 4 years of college, power school. I think Mac, You know, he played a lot of college at an SEC powerhouse, Alabama, pro-ready, pro-style offense. I feel like Kyle wanted him for that reason. Because if you're going to get rid of Jimmy, you need a guy that can step in and take this win-now team now. And I think that's why he wanted Mac. But in my opinion, I think Trey Lance was a John Lynch pick. And it was John Lynch's year to pick. And he took Trey Lance. He was wowed by his character. John Lynch likes those character guys. And it's not a shot to Trey. And you're absolutely right. He needed the time. And I remember saying this a couple years back, 3 years ago when we drafted him. I said, you have to get rid of Jimmy now. And it would have been weird. It would have been a hard choice. It would have been like ripping that Band-Aid. It would have been tough. Not a lot of people would have agreed with it at the time. But if you already said you're getting rid of Jimmy by drafting Trey, you had to get rid of him and make Trey your starter. It would have been a very controversial thing to do. But he needed to develop. 3 years later, he still needs the development, Aaron. And it's unfortunate. Last year when he was finally going to get the chance, he got injured. That's injuries happen. But they had to see what they had with him in year one, let him develop, take those lumps. Because now he needs to go to a team that's going to let him develop. It's not like Aaron Rodgers is leaving, then you get Jordan Love. It's we got him hurt, and then they found this magical guy, Brock Purdy, who now you need to give him the chance to see if he could recreate what he did last year. It's an unfortunate situation for Trey, but again, we don't know if he's going to be great or horrible. Right now, he looks bad, and everybody's eating him up and roasting him and spitting him out, and it's unfortunate for him. For Trey's sake, he needs to go to a team that's going to give him every opportunity, take every quarterback one rep, and go out there, and if he fails, he fails. But if he does great, it's fucking great for him. I love that for him, but he needs that opportunity.
SF Flood says the trade package to get Trey was getting ready to be used for Watson, all off the off-field drama. 100%.
I agree.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if Brock Purdy falls on his face this year, don't be surprised if the Niners make a freaking hard push to get a guy like Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
they're not. It sounds really not appealing, and to me, it's just like a lateral move with Jimmy and those kind of guys. But
loves Kirk Cousins. That's his guy. That was the whole reason he wouldn't got Jimmy, because he didn't get Kirk Cousins like that.
Right.
But I think Brock is his new Kirk Cousins. But if Brock doesn't pan out or he gets hurt, I agree, Aaron. I think he'll find a way to get Kirk Cousins finally on the route. And I know.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's not a given. The Vikings still could resign him. But Kyle asked for a contract extension if he was agreed to draft Lance. I don't know if this is like fact or whatever, but I'll read it. Kyle wanted to stay put, take Mac Jones, and add to the D-line and O-line instead of investing so much in a kid Kyle can't use. I mean, if that was the case, it makes sense. Like, hey, thing with it sucks for Trey, but listen, man, and my nephew's a hardcore Niner fan like myself. We're not like religiously connected to players. Like if somebody is better than somebody and they just happen to be like a 7th round pick, we don't care. We don't care. I don't care. And it sounds really cold and it sounds really like disheartening, but like I'm a little older than Raj. I haven't seen a 49ers championship since 1995. I was 15. Okay. And now I'm 43 going on 44. We're due. Come on now. I don't care what it takes. I mean, anything short of trading everything on our team to get Patrick Mahomes, but that's never going to happen. David Corona, what's up, man? He said, "What up, homie? 49ers all day, every day." Absolutely.
All day, baby, all day.
Greg Papa was also quoted as saying he thinks that Sam Darnold is better than Trey Lance. I'm not a big Greg Papa fan. I think he's completely annoying, but I mean, I don't know. He just seems like a geriatric that just makes stuff up. But what's your take on that?
He just hates Trey. I think he's been against Trey from the start. And again, if you're going to go out there and make some statements and stuff, go ahead and get the film out. Like, again, that's why Dan Orlovsky, he's just shouting, banging on the table because
I hate Dan Orlovsky.
He's getting views, right? These guys are getting views. And that's the thing with Mike Lombardi. Same thing. He's trying to get views. He's putting money in his pockets. Greg Papa, I don't know what his deal is, but he's trying to get views too. He's trying to get people to listen to him. And a lot of these people out there, these content creator media characters, the more views they get, the more clicks they get, the more money they get, and the more controversial, the more people they're going to see them. So I think that's part of it. Greg Papa, man, he's not a fan of Trey. Now, again,
he's a Raiders guy.
Yeah. Now, the reason why I use JT O'Sullivan is because I can respect his takes. He shows the film, and I don't disagree with everything he said. His film breakdown was spot on. Now, do I think Trey Lance needs more time? Absolutely. But I'm not going to go out there and hate him. And as far as Sam Darnold, though, I think he did move up on in
You
terms
think
of,
so?
I think he moved up
I
the
didn't.
ladder.
I didn't feel it.
I don't know if he passed Trey, but he's close, and he could spin the ball. We know what we know out of Sam Darnold. Like, we know he's going to turn the ball over. Like, we know he can execute an offense. He's a game manager. He's a veteran. He's come in. He's picked up the offense quick. He's not going to make any like crazy elite, like, oh my God type move, but he can run the offense. He can distribute the ball. He's going to be a yes man to Kyle. Kyle likes that. He likes a yes man.
Yep.
And I, in that fact, Sam Darnold could win second quarterback. It's crazy. Like, I know a lot of people think it's crazy. Take a quarterback 2 has to be Trey because he was drafted number 3. It doesn't have to be. It depends on who Kyle believes can run his system the best. And in the case of Brock Purdy going down, if he does, which we hope he doesn't, Kyle has to believe that one of these guys can run the ball. Can Sam Darnold execute and get the ball to the playmakers? That's what it's all about. Get the ball to the Yak Bros. Can he release the ball quick? In Kyle's system, you have to get rid of the ball quick. And that's what Sam Darnold does. He can get rid of the ball quick. He can spin the ball pretty good. He has a decent deep ball, nothing crazy. He has escapability, better than people give him credit for. So I think Sam Darnold has actually put himself very close to Trey. I still think Trey's a little ahead of him, but it's close, man. Trey has to have 2 fantastic preseason games. And if you watch that press conference after the game on Sunday, Kyle Shanahan was kind of glazing Sam. He's glazed him this whole offseason. He said how he reminds him of Steve Young, where if you put him on the right team, he might be able to be that second chance, this great quarterback. And Steve Young, he bounced around the league. He wasn't good until the Niners took him. And in Kyle's mind, if he can fix Sam Darnold, if he can make him look good and nobody else could, he's going to revel in that. We know Kyle's got an ego. He would love to turn around Sam Darnold, but at the same time, Sam Darnold knows his limitations, and Kyle does. But if you can get the ball out quick, get it to the Yak brothers, facilitate that, he could do it. So I think Sam's close. And again, in that press conference on Sunday, what I was getting to is he said a lot of good things about Sam and how he was really happy with his performance. He wants to give him more opportunities. To me, that sounds like, he's really looking at Sam Darnold to see if he can be capable of being QB2. So I don't think it's a far stretch opinion that people say that. But in terms of Greg Papa's overall take, I feel like he took a dig at Trey too. I feel like a lot of it is personal between some of these media people, like Trey Lance and or Mike Lombardi and Papa, because I feel a lot of those guys were upset when the Niners didn't take Mac Jones. I think they were all set on that. I think they were happy to get Mac Jones. I think that's what they wanted. And when the Niners went the opposite way, it messed them up. It threw them for a curve, and they were like, I
remember the radio coverage.
Yeah.
Papa was not on the Trey Lance train. He was on the Mac Jones train.
And again, that proves my point. I feel like Papa, because of that fact, Mike Lombardi, because of that fact, they were so mad because Twitter, you know how many fans are happy? We didn't get Mac. It wasn't even the fact that we got Trey Lance. It was the fact that we didn't get
Mac Jones.
Everybody, Mac Jones. Oh my God, I'm so happy. I remember thousands of tweets on my timeline. It was so happy the Niners didn't draft Mac Jones. Oh my God, they didn't get Mac Jones. Thank God it was Mac. Oh, I'm just happy it was Mac. That was the dialect. So people that were pro Mac Jones are still salty to this day. That's my take on it.
There's people that out there that think that the Niners should have drafted Justin Fields. Justin Fields can't throw the football. He can run, and I don't want to hear about his preseason stats. The dude threw 3 screens, so you can get off with that.
Listen, Justin Fields is going to be a great fantasy quarterback. He's going to be phenomenal. I might draft on my bet. He runs the ball great. Is he a good thrower of the football? Probably not the best.
But that's what they signed you for. You're a quarterback.
But he can look at the 49ers offense, right? Jimmy Garoppolo, perfect example. Facilitate. He's a point guard. The 49ers need a point guard at quarterback. That's all they need. They need a point guard.
They need a dink and dunk machine, and that's what they have now.
And Justin Fields would have been good for that, I feel, because I was on the Justin Fields. He can escape, drop it to Debo, escape, drop it to CMC, drop it to Kittle, drop it to Ayuk. That's what they're doing in Chicago now. Do I think he's an elite quarterback in terms of throwing the ball? Absolutely not. He was on the bottom of, quarterback stats and everything. But in terms of being an athlete, in terms of being a mobile guy, a guy that's going to score a lot of touchdowns and maybe facilitate the ball like that, like a point guard, Justin Fields excels at that. So it's the way you look at it. But in his stats, if you look at his stats, if you didn't watch the game, you're like, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns on 3 passes. Oh my God, he must have tore it up. But if you watch the game, you're like, 2 of those passes, the offensive player did all the work. But that's why you have to look at context on these box scores. But that's my whole take on it.
Luke Luna says, I'll say this about Kirk Cousins, no matter what the haters say, if you look up his career stats, he occupies some of the most elite stats, and very little QBs do. Kirk would absolutely deal in this offense. Oh, I don't have a question he would deal in this offense. To me, it's the clutch gene.
Yeah.
In the playoffs. You could put all the stats up you want in the regular season, but if you don't deliver in January and February, I don't care. That's until Brock got hurt in that championship game. I mean, he had some struggles against the Cowboys, but the Cowboys had an elite defensive line, right? And, you know, you got to be able to deliver when it matters most, when a division's on the line, when you're in Seattle. That game where he played, where he had a cracked rib and he went and got that first down, the way that Brock to me, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I know it was the beginning and that teams are going to get film on him and stuff. But for last year, that Brock Purdy ride was pretty awesome. And I hope it continues this year. Might not be as good. You might have some people got to put into context too. We're always talking about context. He is only a second-year quarterback in the NFL, Brock Purdy. So he might take a dip this year.
Oh, yeah.
And then people are like, well, he's going to take it. Yeah, he's second, and he's a 7th-round pick. Like, there's reasons he dropped in the draft. So, like, if he takes a step back this year, maybe slightly, where he throws more picks, even though he's still doing stuff on the field, we're not going to, like, all of a sudden kick him out of town. Like, I expect him to maybe have a little bit of drop off this year, because last year was like cheat code. Like, you put him in there, we scored 35 points until he got hurt in Philly. So, Luke Luna is really big on Sam Darnold. He says Sam can do that. Don't be surprised, boys. Like, I have to believe it when I see it, because when I think of Sam Darnold, I think of a losing quarterback who throws a lot of interceptions. But that's just me. That's my opinion.
And I think a lot of people do. Just like you said, I agree with the Kirk Cousins assessment. Guys, he puts up stats. I'll never discredit the fact that he can sling in and put up stats. He's put up stats his whole career, but he can't win the big ones. That's his credit. You know, that's his critique. Sorry, critique. That's his critique. He can't win the big one. So yeah, until he can win a big time game, playoff game, then, you know, everybody's going to criticize him. But putting up stats, he does a good job. Like, he would excel in this offense, and I think Kyle knows that. He knows Kirk would run in this offense because he ran his offense in Washington.
He would throw 40 touchdowns in this offense.
Kyle knows it. Kyle knows he'd be a fantasy god with the Niners, with this team. And Kyle knows it, but can he win the big one? And Kyle, with his struggles in the postseason, like in the big game,
is that who you really want?
Kirk Cousins and Kyle together sounds like a disaster to me in a big Super Bowl. Can you imagine? Niners get Super Bowl. You got Kirk Cousins. You got Kyle Shanahan. We're praying for that, and
we're going against Patrick Mahomes again.
I think a lot of bad. I don't know, but I mean, I think he could run the offense. And again, Sam Darnold, we know him as a losing quarterback. He's been on some bad teams, and I think what Kyle was saying when he said he compared like Steve Young, I don't think he was comparing him to the fact that he has skill set of Steve Young. He's comparing to his career of he just needed the right team, and maybe the Niners can be that team, right? But I don't know, because I'm still not sold on Sam Darnold. But I will say this. I got to give Sam some props because he's a lot better than I expected him to be. He was not horrible in training camp. And then he has some throws in that first preseason.
He can chuck the ball.
He can sling
that throw to Ronnie Beal. Did I call him Ronnie Beal?
Ronnie Bell.
Ronnie Bell. I'm thinking of the other. That was pretty.
That was a slanging rock, man.
That was Montana to Rice down the sideline against the Giants in '88. Like,
pretty ball.
Perfect over the top. We're gonna get back to Beal, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna take Laura Katz's advice and ask you, because I saw this report. I always say I made a TikTok short. I made a YouTube short out of it.
Yeah.
I said always take it with a grain of salt. The report that Nick Bosa's contract negotiations could run into the beginning of the regular season. I know I already know by your reaction, but where the hell is he, man? Like, I am getting a little worried. What's your deal?
Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about this so-called report, the report that came out of nowhere. Okay, so it's Tony Pauline. That's the guy. We talked about him earlier on my live. Tony Pauline's the guy that wrote. Tony Pauline is such a bad reporter. Like, this guy does it. He was so wrong on everything Debo last year. I followed him closely. Like, I know a lot of these reporters because I dig deep. I try to get these information, and then when I see reports come out, in the past I used to post like, rumors and stuff, but now I realize you can't just be posting everything you read. But a lot of these sports media pages will run with it, like these NFL rumors pages like that, because they want the clicks, they want the views, they want to get engagement, they want likes. They feed off the likes, and I know how it works in social media. So when they see this report, Nick Bosa might hold out, he might not make it to week 1. That is a juicy topic, because if you type in Nick Bosa, he's all over the timeline, right? So it's a trending topic. Trey Lance, trending topic. If you type anything on Trey Lance right now, you'll get a lot of engagement. If I type anything on Brock Purdy right now, it's going to get a lot of engagement. Nick Bosa is the same thing. Tony Pauline knows that. He rates this article. He says a source. We don't know if he has sources, and I pull it out of his butt crack. I'm not worried. Nick Bosa is going to get paid. They're working on it. His agent's tough. That's the thing you got to know. He has the same agent as Joe Burrow. That's a tough agent, man. He's trying to get as much for his client, and as he should. The more money Bosa gets, the more money the agent works. We all know how it works. I'm not worried. I don't think he'll miss week 1 of the regular season. But when you have people have a job to write about it, they're going to stir that up, because the more controversial it is, more people are going to read this. More people go, oh my, is Nick Bosa really going to miss week 1, Aaron? Is he really going to miss week
1? Aaron's going to have to start drinking alcohol. He's never done that before.
Yeah.
Okay, let's change the subject a little bit.
Like me screaming like that?
Yeah, you scared me a little bit.
I know.
Let's talk our absolutely deplorable, disgusting backup offensive line that was in the preseason. We talked about this just on our little live streams, and then, I'm sure you and Larry and you and all these other people, all the content creators talk about it. The worry about the 49ers offensive line depth, man, they looked really bad on Sunday.
You're being nice. Really bad?
Like, I'm going to say both sides of the ball, defensive line and offensive line. We talk about all this depth we have, right? Like, we got all this depth. We're like 10 players deep. Are you sure about that? Because kind of look like we're like a front-loaded team with like 4 good players, and then everybody else is butt cheese behind them. Like, the offensive line, wow. I hope no one gets hurt this year, because if they do, you're going to have another quarterback on IR recovering from some massive injury. Like, what the heck, man? Can we do anything before the beginning of the season? Get some cast off from another team? Like, what the heck?
I mean, that's the biggest worry. And I was saying that all off season. I'm worried about the O-line. And in training camp, I'm worried about the O-line, because you're right. If there's a starter that gets hurt, we're in trouble. And I agree that they like to freak out. I appreciate you guys. But I agree. The starters, it's front heavy. It's front loaded. This team is front. They got some elite players. The starters are great. They didn't play this weekend. The backups did, and they did not look great. And for every week, we always talk about, the Niners have so much depth. Next man up. This year, it looks like maybe it's catching up, because they have been losing players over the years. Jimmy Ward, DJ Jones, Emmanuel Mosley, Azeez Al-Shir. We're losing a lot of players. Dan Brunskill. We're losing players. Tom Compton, he was decent, not horrible. We're losing players. We can't sign everybody. Laken Tomlinson. And it eventually it adds up. Like, we have good starters, but these backups, they're not looking hot. A lot of them are young players, because I know they develop players really good. They do develop, but not everybody is going to be a hit. You're not going to develop every single player. You just can't. The numbers, statistics will tell you can't develop every single player, and it's catching up. Because I'll tell you what, Jalen Moore, Nick Zakelj, those guys, I pray. This is what I said the other day after the game. I said, look, I pray that they have another fallback plan other than the NFL. I hope they have a good degree. I hope they have some type of job to fall back on, because the NFL is not going to be paying them for too long, because they are not good. They are not good. I hope that, Nick Zakelj can flip burgers or something, because he's going to need another job, because he was so bad. I get it. He's young. This is his first year, his first preseason game, but they looked so bad, Aaron. It was so bad.
I hope those guys have, maybe a career in pruning bonsai trees or something, because they need to get a football. Man. I think the surprise more was the defensive line being just kicked around, because offensive line we kind of knew was going to suck past the starters, right? That was kind of the energy we were getting. But to see the the defensive line just get manhandled. I know there's second and third team guys. I get that.
Yeah,
Still
but
alarming.
Prepared, because if there's an injury, injuries happen. You got to be better prepared, because I think, again, I feel like they think, oh, we can develop everybody into a good player. And again, I feel like they should have been better prepared, because Cameron Latu, we all said it during draft week. Why the hell you draft this tight end when you could have drafted an offensive lineman? Was there really not a lineman that you thought you could use on this team? Cameron Latu looks bad. He's another guy that hopefully he has a good fallback plan, because he's not looking good. He didn't look good in camp.
A lot of people saying he's not making the 53. He's probably going to get cut.
He might not, Aaron. He's not.
Sorry, I mean, listen to me talking. I'm Mr. Big Shot with my YouTube channel. It is a little bit worrying, because we always talk about how good our depth is. But I made the comment, you made the comment, everybody in their grandpappy made the comment about the Niners should have made another move to get another pass rusher, like another edge guy. Hell, I'd even go after, I hate to say this, but I'd go after even Jadeveon Clowney now at this point, just to have someone with some legitimacy on that end. They have 3 really good guys and a bunch of youngsters and journeymen on that defensive line. If they get any type of go ahead.
Who's your 3 really good guys? And then continue.
Armstead, Hargrave, and Bosa. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
But 2 of those guys play inside. So we have one good guy on the edge. And
we have one good edge player. And everyone's like, you guys can't have everybody. People don't understand how rosters work, man. Like, Nick Bosa can't play every snap, because when he does, he gets hurt. You know what causes a lot of injury? Overusage, lack of rest. Like, literally having to sleep and getting rest and being, getting treatment. That's how you make it through an NFL season. If you're on the field every damn play, exhaustion, and I don't know if this is true in the physical therapy world, but like people who get exhausted or are not in shape when they play sports, it leads to a lot of injuries, because the body's not prepared for just the movements and the sudden jerk and the pounding. Like, I don't want to say this, because I feel like if you have a guy wait, hold out, and then he comes back, it always leads to an injury all the time. And like, who do we got beside him? Like, Clelin Ferrell looked good on that one. That was a really good pass rush move. I'm not gonna lie, even though it was one play, that was fancy. But really, that's our backup option here, like Clelin Ferrell and Austin Bryant.
He looks like he's going to be a good project for Kasurik. He'll get him paid. He'll be a nice little rotation guy. But part of me wonders how much of that effort he had and energy and everything was because he was going against his former team. I had to play.
Exactly. They're like, you're not going to go against them every week, so you're going to have to find another way to motivate yourself.
He's got to continue it. I think he can, because Chris Kasurik has got a good track record of turning those guys around. But again, we're banking on him to be this elite player. He was never an elite player out of college. He was a number 4 pick. And he hasn't lived up to that billing. Is he a solid rotational guy? Yeah. Is he a number 4 pick? Absolutely not. And he's talented. Again, in Clemson, though, they had a deep D-line, and he benefited off that D-line. They had some ballers there. And now the other guy that we're singling out, and we're not trying to hate on the guy. I'm not trying to hate on him. Drake Jackson. I love Drake Jackson. I think he'll be better this year. But there's a lot of pressure on him, Aaron. Nobody's talking about this. I'm like the only guy. I mention this every day. A lot of pressure on Drake. Last year, Kyle basically said he's out of shape. You get back into shape this year, and maybe you can play a full season. Like, damn, called him out because he never played past 12 games in college. That's true. I mean, it's a big story in the NFL. To be able to play edge in the NFL, you have to be gritty. Like you said with Bosa, can't play every snap, but he plays damn near every snap, and he was gassed out. Even Nick Bosa, who's in the most impeccable shape in the NFL, even he got tired by the end of the season. So if Drake Jackson, who last year was not in shape, according to Kyle, we expect him to go through 20 games if we make it to the Super Bowl and be in like tip-top shape. I don't know. That's a lot of pressure on him. And we're losing, we lost Omenahu, Jordan Willis, and Samson Ebicam. You know how many? That's a lot of snaps, man, between those guys. And Drake Jackson was a part-timer last year. For him to go and probably double his snaps and then play a whole season, that's a lot of pressure on him. I'm just trying to keep it real. Drake's got a lot on his shoulders this year.
Yeah, he needs to step up. It's funny. I heard an interesting thing talking about players being out of shape and not coming in prepared. I don't know if you've heard that it was like an interview with Ambry Thomas that pretty much said he didn't put in the work last year, and that's why they wanted him to get bigger. He got smaller. Like he pretty much had the mindset of he made it, so he doesn't have to work kind of thing.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, because he had a really good preseason game. Granted it was against seconds and thirds, but he looked pretty good. And I guess we could transition, but like one of the things that was talked about, it was the fact that Isaiah Oliver is not a guaranteed lock to make that slot cover corner. There's even talk that they might kick Ambry inside on nickel plays. I heard it.
Yeah, I saw that today.
What would that do? Would they put Womack on the outside? Would it be Womack and Shavarius Ward and have him on third? I mean, because it happens. It's what do we call it? What does people call it? A meritocracy. Just because you're signed to a deal doesn't mean necessarily you're going to be able to be the guy. Like, I don't know how big of a deal that was to sign Isaiah Oliver and have they can move off of it or just keep him as depth. But what's your take on Isaiah Oliver possibly losing his spot and not playing well?
That was interesting because, I mean, we 2 months ago, when the 49ers talked about Isaiah Oliver and when minicamp started and all this started getting around and Steve Wilkes was addressing the media, he said, Isaiah Oliver's our starter. He's our starter. We signed him to be the starter. Nobody said a thing. He was like, okay, depth. We're competing for depth. And you're right. Ambry Thomas last year was lost. It was a bad year. And he was even having a bad start to training camp. But he turned it around. He's flipped the switch. And today, Steve Wilkes mentioned him and said he's one of the better players over the last couple of weeks. Like you could see, he's like something went off on him. I think Lombardi wrote this in his article the other day. And he says the moment that it changed for him is the story. And I remember the training camp. Tay Martin gets a play on, he beats him. And he started talking trash to Ambry. And I was like, God, man, Ambry's getting beat. The whole training camp, right? All the highlights, everybody was talking about how he got cooked. Then that moment, George Kittle came because Ambry was talking trash to Tay Martin, and Tay Martin was dishing right back. Kittle comes, and he backs up Tay Martin, his offensive teammate. And Ambry's like, damn, I'm on my own. So the next play, they throw it to Kittle, Ambry Thomas, PBU on George Kittle. I remember that play. I was like, we all sitting there, me, Rohan, Tedner, we were like, was that Ambry? Did Ambry just make that play on Kittle? I was like, okay, good play. And last week on preseason game 1, who was the big defensive standout to me?
It was
Ambry Thomas. He played his ass off, man. And Steve Wilkes mentioned it. So Ambry has a chance to make this starting nickel now. There's an opportunity for him because Isaiah Oliver, who we thought was a lock, he's not. That's not good. And again, what did I say? We lost players, right, over the last couple of years, and we thought our depth was going to be better. That's exactly what we just said. So that proves our point. We thought our depth was going to be great. It turns out he's not as good as we thought he might be now, and that's kind of unfortunate. The other guy could be Lenoir. Maybe put him in the slot. We know he's pretty good out there. He was going to be quarterback too anyways. Maybe you throw him in the slot. So one thing, I think the thing that Steve Wilkes said is it depends now. It's going to depend because it depends on the situation. I'm reading, he goes, Lenoir can be moved inside, Ambry Thomas, Sam Womack, depending on, the situation of the game. So they might have a committee at nickel until they figure out who is that guy. But it's a competition now. You got Sam Womack, Ambry Thomas, Diamond Lenoir, and these guys are going to push each other. Competition, like we say, competition breeds success. So Isaiah Oliver, they signed him this offseason. I don't think he's a lock to make the team now, which is crazy. He went from being a starter to now you might compete with Ambry Thomas, who we didn't think was going to make this team now, to be a nickel. So to me, I feel like Ambry's in the driver's seat because I think Lenoir could be outside corner. You got Mooney Ward and then Ambry. But Sam Womack, he's a pretty good player. It's going to be interesting. These next 2 preseason games, Aaron, it's going to dictate a lot of who's going to play in that secondary role. And Isaiah Oliver, he's got to show something because
dude got cooked.
I was surprised.
I was surprised he was playing a lot of off coverage, but he was getting cooked by freaking like third string, fourth string receivers. Like, come on, dude. Because
he was, first team reps. And I was a little surprised when the game started, right? I was like, oh, they don't have starters out there. Why is Isaiah Oliver out there? I should have knew at that point. He's not locked to make the starting unit. I was like, wow. And then Kyle after the game says, yeah, he needs more reps. We don't think he's a starter yet. I was like, damn. So Steve Wilkes this offseason said he's a starter, and now Kyle's saying, nope, that's not the case. And he definitely didn't look like a starter. So, whew, spicy.
2 more things. And then, because I know you got about 5 minutes left.
No, we're good actually. Krug hit me up. He says 8:30, so we good. Let's keep going.
Sweet. Okay, cool. Sweet.
Oh.
I was getting all feeling pressure. Let's
Good.
talk about Jake Moody. That was a bad showing. I'm sorry, but I really was pissed off about him missing those kicks. I don't know. I know it's not a big deal. Some people say it's just jitters, but indoors, no elements, dome, like what happened? Are you concerned with Jake Moody? Because I am.
So let's talk about this. This is definitely an elephant in the room. So what did I talk about with Trey Lance? What did I talk about with Drake Jackson? The common theme is pressure. Kyle Shanahan puts players in specific positions where they're under a lot of pressure. Now, Jake Moody didn't ask to be drafted the number 3 in the 3rd round. Okay, he didn't ask for that. But it's going to be a stigma that he carries through his career, whether he likes it or not. He's going to be known as the 3rd round kicker. They're not going to talk about him as Jake Moody. They're going to talk about him as the 3rd round kicker, Jake Moody. The 3rd round kicker, Jake Moody, missed 2 field goals. There's going to be a lot of pressure. They replaced Robbie Gould, a legend, a captain, a guy that had a fearless attitude. He was an 18-year vet who never missed a field goal in the playoffs. Like, we know how good Robbie is. He's always going to be compared to Robbie Gould. Is it fair? Probably not. But is it what happens in sports? Absolutely what happens in sports. There's a lot of pressure on Jake Moody. Now, is it going to happen the rest of his career? Probably not. I mean, a lot of players miss. They got to get the jitters out. It's his first preseason game. I think he can get over this, but it's a mental issue that he has to deal with now. His press conference after the game, the man looked like he was going to cry. Tears in his face. He looked so sad. I was like, oh, God, I feel bad for him. But again, it's a mental hurdle, pressure. How is he going to adjust to the adversity? They iced a fucking kicker in preseason, and it worked? Are you kidding me? It never works. In a preseason, you got iced. That's mental clarity because there's pressure on him to be perfect now because he knows every time he goes out there and he misses a kick, people are going to say they should have kept Robbie Gould. They should have kept Robbie Gould. If you type in Robbie Gould right now on Twitter, you're going to see a lot of tweets because that's
you should have kept Robbie Gould.
I mean, I think I tweeted that. I was like, low key, I miss Robbie Gould. I was one of the people that tweeted that. So you go type in Robbie Gould. There's a lot of tweets from Sunday that mention his name. So yeah, pressure on his shoulders. I think he'll be okay. He's a good kicker. I saw him live. I've been to a Michigan game in the big house against Ohio State. I watched a lot of Michigan football. I mean, I've seen him kick, but college compared to the pros is a different game. And also in training camp, all the reports where he was great. He did look good. I've seen it. I saw him. He could kick legs. He could kick it far. He has a great leg. But practice is different than the game. Different than the game.
Michigan's a lot different than the NFL. That's all I got to say. It just was surprising. The second one was so bad.
Oh, my God.
Everyone's like, I don't know. I streamed with somebody. I was streaming with the guys from Niners Coast to Coast on Monday, and they were like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad. He just pushed it a little."
A little?
Pushed it a little. That thing was wide by about 25, 30 feet.
Bro, I could have hopped on that ball, and I would have flew to Antarctica.
Yeah, we would have went to the Wizard of Oz. We would have went to the whatever the place is where it's located. Like, dude, come on, man. Like, I'm a hardcore critical Niner fan. That pissed me off.
That was bad.
I was pissed. I'm not John V pissed anymore because my boy John V, that Greek blood that he has in him, like me with my Italian blood, he gets hot watching games. I was a little bit hot watching that. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, dude. Offensive line's playing like butt. Trey Lance is looking shook and offensive line and all that. And now the kicker and on top of the defensive line sucking. Like, I was just like, wow, this is probably one of the worst preseason games I've ever seen. Everyone's like, it's preseason. Yeah, I know, but still, there's no pressure in the preseason.
It shouldn't be.
You're indoors.
But no, see, the thing about it is Jake Moody has internal pressure for the fact that he was drafted in 3rd round. Again, he didn't have, but it's a stigma. It's a stigma because, when the O-line performed like dog water, right? And I'm going to get to this comment how about the Niners? I like this. When the O-line performed like dog water and you missed your kicks, people are going to say you should have drafted an O-lineman instead of a kicker. That's exactly the dialogue that's going out there. And I don't blame people for saying that because could you have gotten a kicker in the 7th round or undrafted or free agency that would have missed 2 kicks on Sunday? Absolutely. You could have absolutely got another kicker.
But
You
it's
could
expected that they
Zane
might.
Gonzalez. You signed Zane. You could have just kept saying, why'd you go and get a kicker if you had Zane Gonzalez? So
You could have drafted an offensive tackle in the late 3rd, early 4th.
that's what I'm saying. So that's what the pressure is. I know there's no pressure in a preseason game, but that's the pressure. I like this freaking out vibe I'm giving out tonight. So
You're starting to weird me out, but I'm starting to fall for it. Like I'm starting to go myself.
it's for the view. Gonna get a lot of views. So.
My grandfather, when he used to get upset, his voice used to pitch high. I have a little bit of that. Like you sound like Jerry Seinfeld. Like, what are you doing? Like that, just that. All right. So how about the Niners? Says Raj and Aaron. Il Manning allowed 0 pressures on Sunday. He can play tackle, guard, and center. Do you think he beats out more for the backup tackle spot? I'll take the local clerk at 7-Eleven to beat him out. What's your take?
If he can continue to play like that on Sunday and he looks better than him, absolutely. I get tired. Jalen Moore's been on this team for several years now, and he has not looked like a NFL lineman his entire time with the Niners. Get him out of here. I told you. Jalen Moore better hope that he has a backup plan because he's not going to make it in the league.
He's going to do. He's going to be painting. He's going to paint pictures on Twitch like Bob Ross. That's going to be his new job. How about the Niners also says, I also kept an eye on Fisher. He's a hard man to move, still look like a bully, needs refinement, but he also looks solid.
Yeah, I watched the film. He looked better than some of the other guys. Yeah, the guys that are going to make the team are the people that improve the next 2 weeks. I mean, bottom line, there was not a lot of great film out there on O-linemen. So whoever looks decent in these next 2 weeks is going to make it. Like, I don't think Kyle needs to play favorites and say, oh, well, we drafted Nick Zakelj last year. If he sucks, cut him. If Jalen Moore sucks, cut him. You don't want bad quality backups. So these next 2 weeks are massive for these backups. And if they show any type of improvement and the film looks good, keep them, because I don't think that there's going to be any people on the waiver wire that are going to be salivating for Jalen Moore or Nick Zakelj. If we cut him, we can keep him on the practice squad. Like, that's how it is. It's going to be. If any of these guys look semi-decent, keep them. And if they look bad, cut them, because nobody's coming for them. I'm telling you, nobody's coming for Jalen Moore. Nobody's coming for Nick Zakelj. They'll be able to go on the practice squad. I guarantee you. I
gotta give a shout out to my guy Luke Luna. Been a fan of the channel for a long time. He's a tattoo artist. He's really good. He's a ginger like myself, so I always got to give a shout out. His little boy is a ginger too. So, us redheads, man, we gotta stick together, man. So Luke made a good point. He says those linebackers were flying to tackles, though. We got some flares. If there's one position that is deep on this team where we can agree that it's deep, like we talk about, oh, everybody's deep, but we're in linebacker. We have some players. A lot of people don't think Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles is going to make the team. They say he doesn't perform. I forget what the take that the person was talking about Flannigan-Fowles, but yeah, I wasn't expecting a lot of the linebackers. I mean, I thought D Winters looked good. There's the guy that everybody's talking about. I forget his name.
Jalen Graham. Yeah.
I didn't see a ton from Marcelino McCrary Ball, but I mean, it's a good problem to have. There was a comment earlier that said, would you think that with the Niners grooming all these linebackers, that they would think of trading someone like Fred Warner to get picks or something down the line?
Maybe next year or something, or 2 years from now. Yeah, it's a possibility when he gets older, because you're going to have a log jam. And eventually, if the guy gets passed up talent-wise, or cheap when it becomes a little cheaper, yeah, I mean, I love Fred Warner. I don't want to get rid of him, but it's definitely a possibility. But as far as those linebackers, yeah, the Niners, they know how to draft linebacker. They know how to develop. Their linebacker coach is amazing. And that's why they were
Johnny Holland.
That's why they were okay with letting Aziz go, because they know they can draft. Those guys were absolutely humming. As far as Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles, I said it last year. The guy's terrible. The only reason he's on his team because he's friends with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, and he's good at special teams. Like, if the 49ers keep Flannigan-Fowles, it's only for special teams. He's only for special teams. He's not a player that's going to get you anything being on your linebacker rotation. He's good for special teams. Same with Oren Burks. Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles does not deserve to be rostered as a rotational linebacker. He's good at special teams. But I'll tell you what, D. Winters, God was flying. Jalen Graham, 7th rounder. 7th rounder, the guy was flying. Although it was against backups, but you can't just because it's backups.
You play who you play against.
The speed, though, the
Yeah.
way he's going sideline to sideline, flying to the ball, that's intensity I want to see out of these young players.
D. Winters was quick too.
Yeah.
There was a play to the sideline where he just like laterally.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, that looks like one of our guys. Like Greenlaw has more of that rundown speed, and he's a little bit more violent. Fred Warner's more of a finesse linebacker.
Finesse coverage.
And he's a coverage guy. He's really good in coverage. Where Greenlaw is more of the guy, like if you're going to get anybody kicked out of the game to take one for the team, it's going to be Greeny. I used to hate him for that, but now I love him because I think the Niners got too many choir boys. That's why I would have been okay with Fred Clark or whatever, the pass rusher, Frank Clark.
Frank Clark, yeah, he's a dog. I
would have been totally. Everyone's like, he treated the Niners, but I don't care.
Yeah. Greenlaw is intense, man. He can run down a player. He's gonna hit you in the mouth. He can clog the lanes and like you said, run sideline to sideline. Fred Warner, it's that coverage. He's the quarterback on the field. Like he knows what he's calling out the plays. That's why he's the mic, right? Because he knows what things are gonna be. He tells people where to line up. He's got good vision, man. He'll drop back and he tracks the ball. Boom, he's right by it. I'm like, God, this guy just knows where the ball is gonna be. Good instincts, good IQ, smart guy.
Graham, McCrary, Ball, Winters. And he says, rest in peace, Flanagan, Foles, and possibly Burks. I'm totally fine with that.
Again, special teams. If they make the roster,
those are all fresh, young bodies with not a lot of wear and tear on them.
Right. And you know what happens?
Especially in the defense, you better be able, you bring your lunch pail, you're going to hit somebody. So you got to get there's not so much tread left on tires of certain guys. You have the new guys ready to step in. Let's talk about Kinlaw, man. Woof. Dude was on skates. See, this is what I said the other night. I was on with Bash, and I said, Bashar, 49er Miner, for all of you who don't know, check him out. I said to him, I'm so sick in hearing about guys looking good in OTAs or mini camps. I don't care because everybody was saying Trey looked good and this guy looked good and that guy looked good. Wait till pads come on in training camp in the preseason before you make any. I'm sick of it. And we heard about Kinlaw. He looks great. He's in great shape. He's kicking everybody's ass in one-on-ones. Gets into a game, back on skates. Like nothing's changed. Is he even a lock to make the roster? Will he make the roster just based on roster politics?
It's a possibility. He could be a rotational guy at this point. That's the best he's going to be. He's not going to be living up to his first-round billing. Now, the thing about Kinlaw, just like Trey, his development has been stunted. Like, he was injured through his career, and you can't get better if you're not on the field. That's it, bottom line. He doesn't have the technique, his leverage. Like, he looks great. You're right. He absolutely looks great.
Greek God. Looks amazing.
He looks so good, Aaron. He does. But looking great isn't going to go and get tackles. Looking great is not gonna.
Looks like Tarzan plays like Jane.
Right? It's like I was telling my boss today because she lost some employees, and then I used to be a director, so I know where she was stressed and her boss, her regional, was like, you got to be nice, you got to show people why they should stay here, and she's like, no, we need to pay these employees more money. If you're not going to get more money to the employees, they're going to want to leave, and then I understand, you leave for a bigger opportunity. So her boss tells her, you just got to be nicer, and I told her, you know what, you are a very nice boss, Lonnie, but your niceness is not going to pay my bills. Guess what? If I go to my landlord and say, hey, guess what? My boss is really nice. I'm short $500 in rent. They're going to say, I don't care. Pay me the $500. So just because you look great doesn't mean you're going to go out there and get a sack. It doesn't mean you're going to go out there and be able to have the technique. You can look good, but you have to be able to play good too. You have to be able to, if you talk the talk, you got to be able to walk the walk or whatever that goes. Because Kinlaw has been talking a lot. I feel good. I look good. He's coming in with the do-rag, the glasses. I look cool, man. This is my year.
I'm a freak. But you're a freak, all right.
You gotta prove it on the field. And I don't hate Kinlaw, but at some point you just can't talk anymore. You just have to let the game, do your talking for you.
He has an attitude of a guy that actually is good.
Yeah, that's the
thing.
He might be, but he never developed because of the injuries. And now he's out there acting like he's been a 3-time Pro Bowler, but he hasn't even played 20 games in the NFL.
This guy
Sucks.
I don't know. Where are we here? See, even Luke Luna agree with. He goes, I wanted Clark. People saying he has a cancer, but he didn't seem to ruin 2 Super Bowl wins. Exactly. Ryan from No Border Sports is in here. What's going on, Ryan? I appreciate you coming through. What was I going to say? Yeah, here it is from David McNiner. He said Kinlaw was getting pushed around by the Raiders in twos. Of course, he looked good against our backup O line. Maybe that's what it was.
I should have told you everything you needed to know about our O line. Now, after watching this game,
so it was fool's gold. Boom, boom.
Yeah, because if you really think about it, yeah, he looked great in one-on-ones there, but he was going up against Jalen Moore, Nick Zakelj, those guys that we just wrote off, right? So that's a great point by McNiner, Dave McNiner, that, yeah, he was playing our second-team O-line, who was dog water this week. So it's a good point. Yeah, good way to put it.
White boy Rick, I think you're being facetious.
Oh, he's going to be real good. He's going to be real good.
Yeah, he's going to be real good, all right. He'll be real good. Freaking, never mind. I'm not going to say what I want to say. I'm not a big Kinlaw fan, to be honest with you. Just his energy doesn't. I don't like people that talk S and don't perform.
You know, he posted something on his story today. He's still talking. Let me go. Let me pull it up. I gotta. He's still talking, my boy. This is what his Okay, so he just posted this about an hour ago. I saw it right before I hopped on the stream. He goes, this is on his story. He posted a picture of like a part of his house. It looks nice, whatever. And he goes, they either love you or they hate you. Fuck them. I'll keep grinding. So F them. He's basically saying, screw them. I'm going to keep doing my thing, you know. And then he also posted a lyric, you know, rocking shades that hide the pain. I can't see you. So he's trying to stay away from the haters, I guess. But just stop posting stuff. Just go out there and play.
People who post stuff like that are affected by the haters. When you say that you're not affected by it and you're posting about it, you're affected by it. If you're not affected by it, you wouldn't post about it.
I agree.
Your actions and your words are not meeting halfway here.
You're letting people get under your skin. You're letting people
totally lets people get under. He's thick. He's for a massive man that he is. He's really thin skin.
And that's what affects him mentally. He lets these keyboard warriors affect him, and it mentally messes him up on the field. He knows it's again pressure. He goes out there. He goes, if I mess up, I'm gonna get people hating on me. I gotta be right out here. I gotta get perfect. And then he's thinking about that, internalizing that. He may not know he's thinking about that, but he's internally thinking about it. He goes out there, then he gets blown up, put on skates, like you said.
He's so big, though. It doesn't make any sense.
Larger than my life, Aaron. But he's not. He's larger than my life. He just doesn't mean he's good. Like I said, even though you're nice, and I told my boss, just because you're nice doesn't mean you're going to pay our bills.
It's like somebody being tall and heavy. Like I'm tall and heavy, but it's the wrong combination of tall and heavy. Just because you're tall and heavy doesn't mean you're a badass. Yeah. You could be tall and fat, or you could be tall and in great shape. I am the prior, not the latter. What was I going to say? Let's talk Ronnie Bell.
Yeah,
I know we kind of touched on it.
Let's leave on that on Ronnie Bell, because we talked about Kinlaw, who we're not high on, but Ronnie Bell right now so far, minicamp was good, OTAs were good, training camp was good, preseason game 1 was pretty good. I know he made a little mistake, but he's a rookie. I'll let him live with that. I'll be fine with that.
If he's doing it in the preseason and he learns from it, I'm totally fine with that.
Agree. I like his attitude. I love the way he was blocking. He's very physical. Kyle loves that stuff, right? No block, no rock. I saw him engaging in blocks as soon as, like, when he wasn't in on the play and he was just there, you know, in space. Tight end would catch the ball. He would run immediately to try to block. I saw that. I was like, oh, I like that. Kyle probably likes that. He had some nice catches. Good route runner. He was a very savvy route runner. He was very gritty out there. I think this is a guy that could be the replacement for Juwan Jennings next year, because he's on a contract year. If he leaves, gets more money, Ronnie Bell's going to be very cheap, and you keep him. You keep him around, and this guy could develop into a really nice slot receiver. He's got some downhill running abilities like Debo, that little truck hit he had, little truck stick. I mean, that was nice, man, and I think he showcased some good potential. I love Ronnie Bell, man. So far, he's probably the best rookie so far. He looked amazing.
You know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
Jerry Rice. He's not fast.
Yeah.
He's not big, but he just looks smooth. Like, I can't explain it. He doesn't do anything particularly incredible.
Those routes, man. He knows
But he's a professional route runner.
yes.
If that makes any sense. Jerry Rice was a professional route runner. He had game speed. I know that's a huge, like, Jerry Rice, Ronnie Bell. I don't know, just from watching him, and he just seems, I don't know, man. I get a vibe from players. I don't know if I have a good sense, like my dad, of like reading people's energy. I guess I should be like one of those people that does like tarot cards or something, but I don't know. He seems like he's got it all in the right places.
I watched him in Michigan, Aaron. He's good. He's got that it's the route running. And I've always said this for years. If you can be a good route runner in the NFL, you can be a successful NFL wide receiver, because it's all about separating and getting open. Because you can be an electric player. You can be great after the catch, but you have to get the ball first. You have to be able to separate against these corners who are, sticky. There's press coverage, and these NFL corners are really good and they're tough.
Whoop.
We switched here. We switched.
What was that?
That threw me off. It's like, how are you going to get the ball and do all the other stuff after the ball if you don't separate? It's all about running those routes. And he's unselfish, and the fact that he likes to block is going to get him a long way with Kyle. But yeah, he was definitely one of my favorite players from this bleak performance of a preseason game. He was one of my saving graces. I think I posted it on my IG. What did I put? I was like, man, from a bleak performance, let's give it up to Ronnie Bell. He was a bright spot in an ugly game.
What about Deshaun Jameson?
That's another guy who I liked. I did touch on him after the game. He looks like he's going to be the return man. I really like what I saw out of him. He's a guy return man in college in Texas. He's got that twitch. He's got the
stanky leg, man. Whoop. What happened? No. Is it me that's frozen, guys? Is it me that's frozen? Am I here, guys? Can you see me? There he is. What happened? We're having some technical difficulties here, guys.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I got a call. I got to take a call, actually.
All right.
So,
all right, guys.
I'll leave you with that.
Yep.
I appreciate you. We'll be back next week. Yeah, I got to head out, and then actually I got another show. I'll
get
be
on
back
Larry.
in 15 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
All right, everyone. Take care. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll get out of here. See ya.
Take care.